we go.
What's up, guys? We're back. First episode of 2026.
We survived.
We survived the holidays. Yeah, hope everybody had a good holiday season, a good Christmas and New Year and all that good jazz. So, as you guys probably saw on the Instagram, we took a little break, mainly for the holidays, and then we had some trips scheduled. A trip, I guess I should say. Actually, I guess I had a couple, but the big one that kind of took us away was our trip to Wyoming, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, kind of recap what we learned out there in the snowy range with Mike Duffy. And then we'll get into some other stuff that we're going to discuss and go from there. So without further ado, let's talk about the Snowies, AKA
Let's do it.
The Blowy Mountains, because some of those days out there were pretty rowdy as far as weather, and we knew it was going to happen. They had a winter weather advisory, but we'll get to that. I'm kind of getting ahead, I guess. But so we head out west. Well, why don't you start? Because you beat me out there. So why don't we hear it from your point of view first?
Surprisingly, I beat you out there because with the amount of stuff that I went through before the trip, lucky I made it there at all. But yeah. Ripped an axle out of my trailer in Michigan before I even made it out of the state. This was just Christmas, or just before Christmas Day. And then, I was headed out after Christmas. Rented a U-Haul trailer to get me the rest of the way there. Picked up my snowmobile from Sledhead Racing out in Minnesota and drove the rest of the way out on my own there. I believe I got there Tuesday, I think Monday or Tuesday. I don't know. It was a couple days before the first, or before New Year's, and decided to go out on my own and literally pull up to the top of the hill and park in, got my sled unloaded, getting gear out, and randomly run into a buddy from Wisconsin, literally cross country, which was just awesome. So hopped on their group for the day, went out. I lost a bolt out of my A-arm, unfortunately, and had some catastrophic failure on the front end there. I was able to get her out of the mountains, but it was a couple days of running around trying to find parts and fix it, and that was fun.
Oh, you forgot the fun part where we were heating and beating an A-arm in the parking lot and using a bottle jack to try to get it to go back. And
yes, it wasn't successful. We tried. we definitely tried to fix it any way we could, but was able to have to buy some parts and put some different stuff on it for the meantime until I can get a whole new front end for it. But
yeah, who made those A-arms? Was that Alternative Impact too?
No, those are T-Rex Fab. They're out east somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where, but I believe they're an East Coast company there.
Well, props to them, man, because the amount of force that it took to bend that A-arm the way it did, and then us just trying to bend it back was, I mean, you would have thought we were bending a 1-inch solid piece of DOM. It was incredibly tough. I will say that. And
it was pretty impressive. And I think the only reason that it bent was because it stopped the sled like that instantly. I think if it wouldn't have caught my ski, I probably would have rode all day with it like that and not had an issue. It had just been loose,
Yeah.
My ski getting caught in the snow was stopping me is kind of what initiated the whole incident. So it is what it is. Get new parts and rinse and repeat.
Yeah. No, and that's true. I mean, and that's part of the game, right? I mean, it always sucks to have something happen like that. You just had a string of bad luck, but we tried. We got it pretty dang close. Luckily, Cameron from 3C, shout out to Cameron. He came in clutch. He just happened to have a spare A-arm at his shop not too far away in Laramie, and you were able to get on the snow for the second day, which was the second day of the class, I should say, which worked out pretty good. So.
Yeah, got me all the parts to get me going, so that was awesome.
Yeah. So we got out there Thursday, a couple days after you, and we kind of settled in at the hotel. The most immediate thing, and for you people that ride out west, you're aware at high elevation. I mean, Centennial's like right 8,000 feet, maybe a smidge more, and just carrying your gear in. If you're not used to it, props to the people that live up there being able to breathe, but just carrying your gear into the hospital or in the hospital, Jesus, not the hospital, hotel. Jeez, carrying your stuff into the hotel and then going up a flight of stairs, you are straight up winded. And after that, I was like, this is going to be fun when we're out on the snow. This is going to get interesting. So we got settled in, we got our permits and all that good stuff. We went out riding. It was blowing pretty good the first day. They were under winter weather advisory. That Thursday it was starting, and it carried over into the next day. And Friday, once you got into like, the mountains and like between the mountains and the valleys, it wasn't too bad. The snow kind of let up. But other than that, I mean, it was like 50, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Maybe I'm not probably the best one to gauge weather or wind, strength and speed, but I tell you what, it was whiteout conditions, and thank God Micah, he was leading us out that one day, and it was rough, man. I couldn't even see him 10 feet in front of me, right there by Libby Flats. I know it's kind of in a
Hmm.
pretty exposed area, and that's where we were, and it was just whipping. And he was like, "Man, the wind's trying to push me off the trail, like literally push me off the road." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, dude, like I couldn't see you 10 feet in front of me." And I finally caught up to him and I saw him. And I mean, we probably did 10 mile an hour there for a while because we straight up just could not see where anything was. It was blowing so hard and it was snowing like crazy. But other than that, other than the ride in and the ride out back into where we were riding, it was, you know, everything was good. Back there by the warming hut, I can't remember the name of it, but it's the one that's not the semi trailer. It's the smaller one that's out in the back. You guys that have been
Yep.
out there, you know where it's at. Do you know the name of that area?
No, but that's more northwestern side of the riding area, more towards Saratoga side there.
Yeah.
Better snow over in that area. Yeah.
Yeah, and the snow is definitely deep. I'd say there's probably at least 4 or 5 feet, maybe. Um, and we got in there, and a couple of us got stuck, some more than others. We don't have to talk about that, but um, but trying to dig out and pull out a sled and that stuff at the elevation. I mean, when you're up there, you're closer to like 10,000, maybe a
Yep.
little bit more. You're getting up there, and it takes the wind out of you, literally, just digging something out. So be prepared for that if you guys head out that way, because it'll wind you quick. But anyway, so that was pretty much Friday. It was awesome. Great, great taste riding out there. And then Saturday we get into the class. We get up pretty early Saturday. We meet up with Mike. We head out on the snow. We go through our gear checks. And Mike's pretty regimented about that, which is good. Do a radio check, make sure everybody's talking on the same frequency. We do a beacon check for everybody, make sure that everybody's transmitting and getting a good signal. We got our packs on, our airbags on, we got our beacons and all that good stuff. And he goes over the hand signals in case, so people can communicate without getting on the radio. And he also goes through, like, if we get split up for some reason, this is where we go, this is how we meet, last scene point, all that good stuff. So we get out there, we do some beacon checks. I'm sorry, not beacon checks. We do some beacon drills, I guess you could say.
Drills. Yeah.
Yeah. Mike runs us through some scenarios where he's burying a transceiver. We split up into two teams, take turns finding them. He shows us some techniques with our beacons. He talks about, what are those flux? What are they called again? Flux circles?
Flux arcs. Basically, it's an electromagnetic arc, and that's the way any electromagnetic device is putting out a wave. It's going to go in an arc, not a straight line, is what he was trying to basically prove to us or show to us.
Yeah. Which is good to know, because I think if somebody that's maybe been through his awareness class is probably going to be aware of it. Yeah, I didn't, obviously
Yep.
it's an awareness class, but somebody that's never been through an awareness, I mean, you probably wouldn't even know, because your beacon will literally, and mine did this a couple times, tried to take me through some trees and other stuff in the completely, I wouldn't say the wrong direction, or not completely wrong, but definitely the wrong direction. But think of it like, that the flux arc is like a pie plate and the beacon is in the center and it's putting out a signal that's shaped like a circle, and it's just boom, boom, boom. And when your beacon gets on one of those flux arcs or the lines, whatever you want to call it, it brings you in a circle. And as it kind of, think of it like a spiral, right? Like like a cinnamon roll. I know I sound like a fat kid, but whatever. That's the only thing I can think of. But it kind of brings you in on one of those. Like it's not a straight line, and everybody thinks like, oh yeah, I picked up this beacon, it's just going to bring me in on a straight line. Not necessarily, and mine did not do that. It
Yeah,
brought me in like a cinnamon roll, and I eventually got
yeah,
to it. And Mike was like very adamant. He's like, this is why you trust your beacon. You may think that it's not working and it's taking you, off into the weeds or the woods in my case. But he was like, you have to stay on that flux line because it's actually bringing you. And it did. I mean, I had some more steps that I had to take, but it ultimately did bring me into the beacon that he had buried in the snow. So that was just other guys were going straight in where I was taking the scenic route, I guess you could say.
yeah. But yeah, and once we were out there, you could kind of see that we started in a fresh area with no footprints or tracks or anything like that, and you could kind of see how everyone's device brought them in a little differently. But we none of us were direct straight line at it unless we saw where he planted it and we're just walking out towards it, you know. But everyone had a slight sweeping arc to it, and you didn't take a direct straight line. And then just knowing that, knowing how your equipment operates, you know, is definitely a life-saving thing. And I had the same thing. I had where I was 180 degrees off from my arrows pointing at it, but my numbers keep going up, and knowing your equipment and being able to understand that, and oh, I need to turn around, go the other way, you know. Those are the type of things that can make a recovery life-saving or not, you know.
Absolutely. And, having the equipment, I feel like I've said this before and I probably have, but having the equipment is one thing and knowing how to use it, especially your beacon is that right there that day. And that those drills that we did in the morning were very eye opening as to how those beacons actually function. And, like Mike said, trust your beacon and you go, okay, I will. And then ultimately, yeah, it does take you in the right spot. But that was a bit of a learning curve, I guess you could say, even more so than what he showed us in the awareness class. So that, I
Hmm.
mean, that's one of the many reasons why I will now say, after having been through a level one Avi course, that I would highly recommend it. And we'll get into more reasons why because we're only in the first morning here and we still have a day and a half left. So after that, we take off, and Cole from 3C Guiding, who was with us that day, awesome guide by the way, highly recommend. He takes us kind of through the backcountry. We ride over by Widowmaker, and he takes us through the pass, and he gets us over to this other side so we can start digging some snow pits. And we go through all that stuff. We talk about, Mike's like, all right, park the sleds here. Let's walk up this hill and let's dig a big snow pit. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die doing this. I'm out of breath. And it was a little bit of a workout, but luckily after we got the snow pit dug, and there's what, 6 of us. So we got it knocked out. Well, actually 7 with Cody. Did I say Cody earlier or did I say Cole?
You
I might
said
have,
Cole.
oh, no, sorry, Cody. I meant Cody. So Cody was with us, and he's helped us dig, and Mike showed us how to properly dig a snow pit, how to cut the column and do the column test, and all that good stuff. And that was very eye opening. And we did find a very thick ice layer a couple feet down, and it was concerning. And then we went through and we did the tap testing. We got it to break, and I cannot remember the name of the word that Mike uses. And he's probably going to listen to this and be like, he's going to be yelling it at me. It starts with a P. I remember that, but it's essentially when the crack spreads and
Propagate.
propagate. Yeah, there you go, man. You paid attention.
Propagate.
Yeah, propagate. Yeah, Mike's probably like, oh, thank God Nick's on here. He remembered. So we got it to crack, but it didn't propagate. So for you guys that are like, what does that mean? Essentially, when you do the column test, you tap it down, and then you want to see if it breaks away, and where it breaks, you want to see if the crack spreads like to the whole slab, and that's what essentially is what triggers a major avalanche. And so we did that. We did get it to split, but it didn't propagate very good or very well. So the snow was pretty stable, which is good, right? It's good for now for people that are riding out there. Obviously, that's going to change throughout the winter, but that was good information to know. I think we did that, and then we did a couple more things where we cut some slabs and did some tests. Looked
We
at the
did
snow crystals.
isolated, extended column test.
Yep.
And then, yeah, we were looking at the facets on the crystals
Man, you
as
remember all
well
the
from the different layers.
terminology. You remembered all the fancy words. Dude, my memory is shot with that stuff. But yeah, all that good everything that Nick said, yeah, that's what we did. So we wrapped it up, headed out for the day. I think we wrapped her up around 4 o'clock when the sun's getting low in the sky. Sunday morning, kind of the
You
same thing. What's that?
let us play for like 50. We did get to play for
Oh,
like 15 minutes at the
that's
end
true.
of the
That's true.
day.
Mike was like, "You guys were good, so you get like a 15-minute free time,
Go play now.
to go climb hills and screw around before we head out," which was awesome. And so we did play around for a little bit, and then we rode out, and Cody took us through some awesome spots, kind of showed us where we were going or where to go, I guess you could say. And then we headed out. So fast forward, Sunday morning, we get up, kind of the same thing again, same drills, routines, as far as checking our gear, making sure our radios are good. The level on our beacons, Mike's cutoff is 70%. If your battery's lower than 70, then we got to switch out batteries. So, but everybody was good on their gear. We headed back out, and this time we did some more pits, and we also did some line drills. Did we do line drills on Saturday? Our probing Saturday, we did the probing line.
The probe line. Yep. Yep.
Yep. So
We
essentially,
practiced on that.
yeah. So essentially, guys, if you're not sure what a probe line is, if you have somebody that does not have a beacon and they get caught in an avalanche and you're like, I have no idea where this person's at or whatever, or if you have multiple burials, you have everybody line up in a line and everybody, you know, you have one person that leads it and you stab by your right foot, center, left foot, and then step. And then one person calls that out. Right, center, left. Okay, step. So Mike buried some stuff in the snow. We did our probe lines, found some things, and he showed us, pretty much explained and showed us how that works. We got to practice it, which was good because now we'll fast forward back to Sunday. We go out, we dig some more. We dig our own snow pits now, and now we're doing our own testing. And Mike's just kind of supervising us, but he's watching us, making sure that we're doing everything right. Because this time we're actually doing it for an observation for the actual avalanche center out there. I think it was Carbon County, if I'm not mistaken.
I
Carbon
think so.
County, yeah, avalanche center. So this was a legitimate observation that we did, and that Mike wrote up and actually submitted for their forecast, which is pretty cool. Kind of felt pretty important, being able to do that and submit
Yep.
that information. It's very cool. So we go out there, we dug some pits on, I can't remember which, I think we were facing north or northeast, somewhere like that. We dug another pit, did some more tests, kind of the same results as Saturday, what we found. And I'm kind of drawing a blank after what we did. We left out of there, and I think we went to a different area. That's right, we did.
Yep. Yep.
We went to a slope that faced a different direction. And we did that again, and we looked at everything. And
Yep.
then,
We did north and east facing slopes, I believe,
yep,
were what we worked on.
yeah, I believe so. And then after that, we went through some rescue scenarios, and I told Mike this at the end, kind of when we were doing the debrief, was a lot of fun. So Mike made us go right up over this hill, said, stay there, no cheating, no peeking. And him and Cody buried a couple transceivers, and then they buried a couple things to simulate people that did not have beacons. And then he would call us back over, and we organized into a team. We had a leader. We had people that were looking for visual clues. We had people that were searching for beacons. And then he would time us, and he'd say, okay, here's the slide. This is what's going on. Go find these people. Go. And some of us would ride up. I think there's 2 of us that looked for visual clues. There's 3 of us that were doing transceivers, looking for and tracking transceivers or beacons. And then, then we had one person that was just kind of at the bottom of the hill directing everything and looking for things and telling people where to go, who to help, and all that. So the first time we found everything pretty quick. What was it, like 7 minutes and some change?
7:17, I think it was something like that. 7:17. That was basically set up on easy mode. I mean, it wasn't. It was difficult, but I mean, that was a beginner practice, scenario. It was three beacons buried, 2 without beacons, but they had visual information in the debris field that you had to then find the person from that.
Yep. So we went up there, we got him out, we got found everything pretty quick in about 7 minutes. Came back. Mike's like, good job. That was pretty fast. All right, let's do it again. Let's run it again. So then the second time, same thing. We kind of mixed up the teams. The people that had done beacons, most of us switched to visual. And I think you were the leader the second time around, if I'm not mistaken. I think Tony was the
Yeah,
first leader on the first one. You were on the second.
correct.
So he calls us on the radio. Hey, come back over. We're ready. We ride back over. We walk him through our plan, like who's in charge, who's doing what. Okay, starts the timer. Go. We take off again, ride up the hill. We start digging, tracking things. I think that time, barring the one non-transceiver person, I guess you could say, we did that. We
Yeah.
found four in like 6.5-ish minutes.
Yeah, it was everything was under would have been under time if we'd have found, that fifth one, and we were on top of it,
Yeah,
and,
it was buried deep. And the thing that made me feel better is when we couldn't find it. I can't remember when he called time and he finally came up to help us find it. We spent like, I don't know, a couple minutes even with him just trying to find it. And
yeah,
it was
Mike himself had a hard time finding it, yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, we've lost bags before, and we have to come back in the spring and find them because that's how good we hide them." And we probed, and that bag was pretty close to the ground, so it was very hard to tell if you were hitting the ground when you were probing or if you were actually hitting something. In the first drill, I was looking. I was a person that was searching for visual clues, and I saw the debris on top. I think it was a hat, and then I remember what Mike said, like, "Hey, when you find stuff on top of the snow, people are usually going to be above or below it, like in line with it. So that's where you need to start." So that's what I did the first time. And I found the bag. I don't know, I think it took me like maybe 2 or 3 minutes of probing and then shoveling and then finding it. Uh, and it's good practice because you kind of know if you're hitting, if you hit a rock, you hit a rock. It's like, bam, it's a sudden stop. You hit the ground or like a tree or like a branch of a tree that's under the snow. There's a little bit of give there. So it can be kind of confusing,
Yeah,
and the ground was still soft. So you kind of knew you were hitting the ground most of the time, but sometimes you didn't. And I hit the bag and I'm like, that kind of feels weird. And then Mike always is like, hey, if you feel something, do like an X pattern around it and see if something changes. And then also probe next to it to see what your snow depth is. So if you're going to 150 centimeters, but you hit something at 50, like, something's there. So that's what I did, found the bag. But the second time around, that bag was so close to the ground that it was very hard to tell. And Connor had a great idea. He's like, let's form a probe line. We're like, yeah, yeah, let's do that. So we did that. And even with our probe line, we still couldn't find it. We couldn't tell where it was. And even Mike was up there
yeah,
probing and he's like, I know it's in here somewhere.
yeah.
And after a few minutes, he finally dug it up. So that made me feel a little bit better.
And
But
that's
yeah,
one
it
of
was
those skills that I think you really, really need to practice. Probing is you can't. There's no way to uh tell what you're hitting unless you've experienced it multiple times and you know, like, hey, I know this is rock that I'm hitting, I know this is tree, and the only way to do that is to practice. I mean, go out, bury a bag, and practice that probing skill. Like that and the transceivers are your two biggest lifesavers in the situation, and definitely makes you realize, hey, look, I'm not 100% sure on what I'm hitting here when I'm probing, just because of lack of time doing it. You don't know. It's not a 100% thing. Oh, I hit this. Oh, that's a person, definitely. Oh, I hit this. It's a branch. No, it's hard to tell sometimes, and you definitely need to practice that skill for sure.
Yeah. It's definitely a skill set that like to your point, you need to practice because you don't have the experience. And it's like any kind of craftsman or person in the trades or whatever they do, where they're like, I do it by feel. I know what it feels
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
It's the same thing.
yeah. And you don't have the time to learn that in the situation in an avalanche, so it's
Exactly.
something you need to know ahead of time, definitely.
Exactly. And that scenario, or those scenarios, I should say, really proved how beneficial having a beacon is because you can get right on top of the person and then you take I'm gonna use my iPad case or my AirPod case, and you do an X over it and you look for the lowest number. So you go this way, find the lowest number, stop, and then you do this way. and then you find the lowest number. And wherever it's lowest, you stop there, and that's where you start digging. And that really helps you pinpoint where a person's at. And in this case, you could have a full grown person, right? So there's a lot that you could hit with your probe. But in his drills, you're probing like you're looking for just a single transceiver or a bag or something small. So it's a lot harder to find it, but it still gets you on top of that person. Like, yeah, you might find, you might probe and hit something and maybe it's that person's leg or, you get them in the crotch or whatever it might be, but at least you found them and you can start immediately digging. And the other thing that he showed us too was digging technique. And I'm like, well, how do you use a shovel? Like it's all kind of got to be pretty elementary, like just how to use a shovel. But he was like, well, it's like canoe racing. Like you use your torso and you just kind of dig in. It's like paddling a canoe. And we went through some digging techniques, and he's 100% right, because when you get your whole body swinging and you twist it like a spring and then you unload and you're working with your shovel, you can move a lot of snow very quickly and it doesn't wear you out very fast. And even at that altitude, when we were doing that, it was just you're using a lot more muscles than just your arms, and um, you can move a lot of snow in a very short period of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
until
one
you
thing we
dig in
didn't
that
have,
snow, you don't know how heavy it is.
yeah, one thing we didn't have is compacted snow from an avalanche, because once you get an avalanche snow, it's a whole different ball game, because I mean it almost feels like concrete, you know. So, but
Yeah.
definitely the tricks he showed us with a group of guys, you can move some snow real quick. That's for sure.
Very, very, very true. And he always stresses like having what is it, a UIAA certified shovel. And he's,
Yeah, any transponder company, and any of the BCAs, anything like that.
yeah,
But good quality shovel. Yeah, don't buy Walmart shovels.
yeah, or auto parts shovels or ones off of Amazon, unless it's a reputable brand, because even in those scenarios, even though it's, it's like, it's not real, right? Like but I think it's the time that kind of puts you under pressure, and it almost simulates like if you were actually going after somebody, you feel a sense of urgency as you would in a real situation to dig somebody out, and that kind of gets your blood pumping. And when you're moving that snow, I mean, you're putting a lot of strain on that shovel, I will say. Like you are,
Hmm.
if you're a big dude, even a small dude, whatever, you get the adrenaline's pumping, and I'm talking like if it were a real scenario, I mean, the adrenaline's pumping and you're going to be digging like a madman. You're going to putting a lot of stress on that shovel. And that's where you're going to find out why a good shovel is worth, what does this shovel cost $70, $80 when I can buy one at Tractor Supply for $20? You don't want to be in that scenario and find out why. Right.
Yeah,
So that really kind of drove home the point that he's trying to make, is like, this is why you need a good shovel, because you're going to be digging to China very fast and very rapidly, especially if you have multiple burials. So overall, uh, just a great class. So informative, and I attest a lot our success in the rescue scenarios to his training, honestly, because a lot of us were
yeah,
coming in there fresh, had never been to a level one, and you really don't know what you're doing. And I told him this. I said it would be interesting to see how well we did before the training and then after the training, to see like what
versus
was our
after.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how good did we do before, and then how good do we do now, right?
Hmm.
I think that would have it would have I think there would have been a very stark difference between those two times just based
Definitely.
off of what we learned. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I'd like to take credit and say that we just know what we're doing and we kicked butt and blah blah blah. And yeah, honestly, I think we did kick butt. And he told us, he goes, guys, he's like, this is like professional level time. He's like, I've had search and rescue teams that can't do this in 20 minutes, what you guys just did in 6 or 7 minutes. And I honestly, I give all the props to Mike, because he literally just is like, this is how you do it. This is the steps you need to take. These are the things you need to be doing, and go get them. And we
Yep.
spent a day and a half doing that stuff. And when the time came, you fall back on your training, which we had just learned. And I wholeheartedly believe that that's what made the difference.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
So,
a lot of information to retain in the 2 days, but definitely what he taught us is 100% life-saving information. Yeah, without a
oh
doubt.
yeah. And kind of a sidebar thing that I was just thinking about. I don't know if you saw the news lately. You probably have because it's been on Facebook, and I think Mike's posted some stuff, and it's been coming up on my feed. Is there was just another avalanche out in Wyoming, in the last couple of days. I think it was on Sunday, and that was the fourth one, the fourth person. Yeah, it was in Wyoming, and that's the fourth fatality this month with a snowmobiler with avalanches, just this month so far. And we're like what,
It's
halfway
crazy.
through January?
Yeah.
So this stuff can happen, and I don't know if those guys were equipped or not. I haven't read into the details. I don't know if they've released the details. I know Mike will probably be researching the heck out of those incidents and for his
Yeah.
statistics on if they were equipped, if they were trained, if they knew what they were doing, if their buddies were there and they knew what to do. But nobody thinks they're going to be caught in that situation until they are. So I would highly recommend if you guys head out west at all to definitely A, pack the gear, and then B, get the training because it literally will make a huge difference. So yeah. So great class. I don't anything I missed on that.
No, I just reiterate that. I mean, this is 100% worth it. I mean, worth it if you are going to ride out west at all, even if you just want to go once. Take this class. I mean, it could literally save you or your friends' lives. Like it's just there's that much information in it. The on snow awareness just it literally just brushes the surface. It's just an eye opener. And even after taking the level 1, I definitely want to proceed further. Get backcountry rescue level 2, maybe even go up into pro levels from there and go on from there. But if I could save one person's life in my career, snowmobiling makes it 100% worth it to me. You know,
Yeah. It's worth the trade. You can't even put a price on, saving your riding buddies or even not even necessarily I mean, definitely your riding buddy for sure, but
anybody.
you don't want to lose them, but really anybody in general. I mean, if you come upon an avalanche where, there's people involved and they don't know what to do, then you can essentially take charge and say, this is what we need to do and this is how we need to find these people and save a life. So important. And I feel like we've talked about that a lot and, with Matt and Cameron, and having Mike on the show, but and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, guys, because I know we've talked about it, but that it's just that important of a subject that it warrants follow-up conversation about it, especially after attending the level 1 with Mike. So just overall, just so informative, such a great class, and I highly recommend everybody does it. It's just so good. I don't think anybody had anything bad to say about that class after. I mean, everybody loved it. They were just like, "This is
Absolutely not.
crazy."
Yep.
Like, they didn't know what they didn't know, and now they do, and they're all very
Yeah.
happy to have taken that class.
Yes.
So cool. All right, well, if you're ready, Nick, let's kind of shift gears a little bit.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So when we were out there, we ran into even riding before we took the avalanche class. You run into some scenarios, or you might run into some situations where, sleds don't start. Are you prepared? All that good stuff. And we kind of talked about this with Cameron and the gear that you should pack. But what me and Nick decided to do after being out there and being in that class was we were each going to compile a list of 10 things that we feel like you should take or you should have in your bag. And not and this doesn't always necessarily just apply to being out west, right? This could apply in the Midwest just as easily. Obviously, some of the stuff you need out west, you might not necessarily need in the Midwest. It wouldn't hurt to have it. So we compiled a list of 10 things. We did our list separately. I have no idea what he put. He has no idea what I put. And we're just going to kind of run through them and see what we match up on and see what either of us left out. So, Nick, you want to start?
Sure. So
This is a great idea, by
yeah,
the
this
way.
yeah, yeah, no, I know people have been waiting for this type of episode, so I did just pack person list, I did not include shovel, probe, beacon, or the bag itself because that's just part of a kit. Like if you're riding out west, and in my eyes, and if you don't have those four things minimum, you're not riding with me or my group to begin with. So I just consider that part of the pack. So shovel, probe, beacon, and the bag are part of the pack. But and I didn't really do these in any certain order, but here's the
Me
things I
either.
want. Radio, and
Ooh,
I
that's
was
a good
having a little
one.
trouble with my Baofeng when we were out there, but um I think it's just I'm not really great at using it yet. But a radio that can have multi different frequencies that it can run on or scan, good idea. You can listen to weather that way, as well as reach out to multiple different avenues that way. Um, a butane torch,
Ooh,
just
that's another good one.
starting fire. And I always carry two ways to start fire minimum. So I have a butane torch in here, but I also have matches vacuum
Yep.
sealed in a bag under that list. So there's two separate things, but both ways to start fire. Because if you have to spend the night out there, you're gonna want to fire, definitely. So that's one of those things that I really won't budge on is fire starters. Definitely gonna have that in there. A saw of some sort,
Yep.
preferably the longer folding saw, not the cheapies that come in the handle of your saws or your shovels. Some sort of long folding saw. A GPS with inReach or
Yep.
SOS type of function. That can save you right there from staying out all night in the mountains if you have to. A metal water bottle, one, not only for, just to be able to have water with you. Two, it's tougher. It's not, if you do fall or something, it's not going to bust open, spill in your bag. But three, if you do have to spend a night out there and you run out of water, if you start a fire, you can use it to melt snow and then still have some water in that. And then just
And you,
have a container if you ever need to, transfer fuel or something. You never know what you may need it for.
yeah. And I remember Mike brought that up, and I think he was using just a single wall. It wasn't like a double insulated. I
Yes.
think the single wall in this case would probably be better because you can get the heat to
Melt
the snow
faster.
to
Yep.
melt it faster. Just a FYI.
Yep.
So okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yep. And then the only thing with those is like I've used a few different single walls. Is you just got to get one that's a thick enough wall that it's not gonna dent, like just being in your bag. Because you get some of those
Yeah.
thin ones, they'll get pretty dented up pretty easily. I got a couple that are a little worse for wear, but yeah, metal water bottle, and then a fire starter as well. There's lots of different brands out there. I believe I use one called, I think it's Burn High or Fly High or Aim High, something like that. I forget the name of it, but little
Something
fire
elevated, something
starter.
high.
Yeah, something high with fire or something. I don't know, but they're basically wax with a lot of different material in it that burns for
Oh
for
yeah.
quite a while. So always keep one of those in with my vacuum sealed matches for sure. Um, and then first aid kit with a space blanket in it. Make sure that all my first aid kits have at least a space blanket in it. Because there's so many uses you can use that for. Not only one, getting you away from the snow, two, radiating heat back away from a fire, just keeping you warm. You can signal with them. Multiple uses for those as well.
Yeah, I actually have one right here. This is what it looks like. This is a
Yep,
sleeping bag,
yep,
but these
yep,
are you can get them on Amazon and REI and a lot of different places. But this is it, and it's just got the reflective material on the inside, so it keeps the heat inside.
yep. And then a good flashlight. Always keep that in my bag. And a multi-tool.
Yep.
That would
Yeah.
be
No,
my 10 there.
that's a pretty good list. So we matched on every single one. I think 8 out of 10 I had on my list. So I had saw, yeah, fire starters. I had emergency bivy or a sleeping sack or a space blanket, which is what I showed you guys. I had a GPS with inReach on it, first aid kit, uh, and then I had a shovel, and then I had just the shovel on its own is a minimum, even if, in the Midwest. And then I had Avi gear, Pro Beacon pack. And then I had gloves and a hat, like extra pair of gloves and a winter hat. So if you're not wearing your helmet, you can have a nice hat, or if your gloves get wet, carry a thicker set of gloves. So if you're stationary, you're not generating as much heat. You're going to need a little bit more warmth. So I had that on there. I had a multi-tool slash knife, which you carry multi-tool. And then I had extra batteries, and that goes for like maybe a flashlight or your radio or your
Everything. Yep.
transceiver, yep, or maybe your phone or a way to charge your GPS or whatever it might be, but just extra batteries to keep your stuff charged up. So for a lot of that, I think we kind of that's your top those are your top things. And I know Mike has a list on his website, and I think I've shared this already on the page. But if you guys are not familiar, if you go to Avalanche One, Mike has a section that's called What's in My Bag, and he literally lists a lot of this stuff, even more so. It's a very complete list of what he carries in his snowmobile. And if you snowmobile in the Midwest, there's still a lot of good stuff you should keep, on your snowmobile. And if you go out west, then you definitely should have a lot more stuff. So uh, it's just good to be safe than sorry, because you don't want to get in a situation. Well, let me put it this way. And it's like the old saying goes, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And
Oh,
even if you're in the Midwest, yeah. And even if you're in the Midwest and somebody gets hurt or you get stuck or whatever it might be, you can get into some pretty remote areas in Michigan, out in the UP, far away, miles away from civilization or help, or where people can even access you. And,
no.
if you call for search and rescue, or if you call here in Michigan, local EMS, and they're going to send, paramedics and police out after you, it's going to take them some time to get you. And one thing that's actually on Mike's list that I have are glow sticks, light sticks. So he has it on his page. If you had to, if it was dark out and you had to, create an LZ, a landing zone for a helicopter, that could be good. But he also told us, like, if you're in the woods and you need to get close to a trail, you need to leave something on the trail to mark, to indicate like, hey, they're in this area. Like, here's a piece of a sled. I think glow sticks could work for that too. Shake a couple of them up, put them in a tree, and you could almost even mark a path to where you're at off of a trail or an area. Something that people could see,
Mm,
like if they send up a drone or a helicopter, something that they could look down in pitch black and it's red. It might be a little small, it's faint, but guess what? It's better than nothing, especially if
yep.
for some reason you can't get a fire started, right? But it's a visual clue as to where you're at. So I had Megan get me these for Christmas. So post one of my things, and you just never know when you might need it, especially if you get stuck overnight or something like that. So anyway,
Yeah.
so that's
I
our
would say that
Letterman top 10.
I would say that I would always plan on spending the night out. Like, just have it, whether you're in Michigan, whether you're out west, have enough gear in your sled on your person that if you have to, you can stay out for the night, because that
Yeah.
could very easily happen. Very easily. To be in that situation, I've never personally had to spend the night out. I've known quite a few guys that have spent the night out in the mountains, and none of them tell me it's fun. It's not something you want to go do, So, the better prepared you are, the more things you have to make yourself at least as comfortable as possible for that scenario, the better off you are, in my opinion. So I think definitely, even just that class has opened my eyes up for maybe a few more things that I'm probably gonna throw on my sled than I've had in past years, and just a little bit more prepared. I'm okay with a few more pounds on my sled, It's not that big a deal if it's a life-saving necessity in the time, if need be.
Absolutely. And it's just, I think a lot of people take it for granted. They kind of have the mindset that, like, it's, what are the chances? It couldn't, it might not
Not gonna
happen to
happen to
me.
me.
What, like,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
it's not going to happen to me. I'm prepared. Like, I know what I'm doing. Well, nobody wakes up. Oh my gosh, I'm going to sound like my dad when I say this, but nobody wakes up and says, hey, I'm going to go have an accident today. That's why they're called accidents. And
Yep.
the better you're prepared for those accidents or those emergencies, is the better off the situation, the outcome of that situation is hopefully going to be. So, yeah, I feel like we've covered this a couple times, but we just gotta. It's just super important, man. It's just we just trying to stress the importance of this because I think it's accidents are still happening. People are still getting hurt and they're not prepared. And if, this episode or the previous episodes that we've done, if people listen to them and they change their mindset and they change their habits or what they carry on their sled, then I don't care if we've talked about it 50 times. If it's saved somebody, if it's helped somebody, it's 100% worth it. And that's
Definitely.
the goal of this, right? We're just not on here two talking heads blowing hot air. I mean, we kind of are, which is fun, but we also you want to use this platform to be beneficial to our listeners and, give them the best possible outcome based off of what we've learned if they ever find themselves in that situation. So it's just
Definitely.
so important, man. So important. So cool. Well, I kind of think we've covered everything that we wanted to talk about. Let's spend a minute and let's kind of talk about what's coming up, this year for episodes. I'm not going to give them away. Nick, you already know who's going to be on. I'm not going to spoil it.
Want to
And,
tell?
you guys will just, yeah, you guys will just have to wait and see. But we do have some very well known people from the industry that have signed up to join us. Super looking forward to that. Some great riders, some great business people that are very passionate about the snowmobile industry and that have brought a lot to the snowmobile industry, I should say too. And I'm super looking forward to having them on and just having them share their story and everything and what they're about and what their business or their lifestyle or whatever it might be, what it's about, how the snowmobiling has shaped them and how they've given back to it and all that, sappy stuff, whatever. So but yeah, I think we're probably at a good point. We're at about 50 minutes and we're at a good wrapping up point. I think we're going to try to do another one of these here pretty soon. I just got to confirm with our next guest if we're going to do it tomorrow or Friday. Today's Wednesday. So we'll see. But hopefully there's a second episode coming out later this week and we'll get back in the rhythm of things and we'll start knocking these out for the rest of the season. I figure we'll probably go into we haven't really talked about this at all, Nick, but while we're talking about it, I guess we'll just kind of a heads up. We'll probably, I don't know, maybe go into March. We'll just kind of see how everything goes. And then once snowmobile season kind of ends, I think we'll probably take a break from this and then we'll fire it back up in the fall and get going. So I don't know. We'll just kind of see how it goes. Maybe we'll find enough
We
to
could
talk about over the summer. We'll
get
see.
that snowmobile itch out of the way, for the summer months. We're gonna need to do something for sure. Yeah, we'll get something going over the summer. It
Yeah,
may not be as frequent
maybe
as
we
now, but
Yeah, maybe we can't come up with something over the summer and jump on and maybe do, I don't know, a couple episodes or something just to give the people what they want.
mm-hmm.
But we'll just see what happens. But all right, well, we're gonna wrap it up, get back to our regularly scheduled lives, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Happy
See you guys.
2026. We'll see you guys. Take care.